Assalamu alaikum and welcome to the premiere of new series Know Rizq, Know Reward, presented by Islamic Finance Singapore IFSG. I'm Nurul Iman.
And I'm Hajar,
your host, and together we'll be exploring the fascinating world of finance. In each episode, we'll engage with industry experts and guests from diverse backgrounds to explore a range of topics such as personal finance, investment, savings and budgeting, wealth protection, and many more. We hope to provide valuable insights and new perspective on Islamic finance and its application in modern financial system. For those of you who are not yet familiar with IFSG, we began as a WhatsApp group and have now evolved into a registered company that is committed to building a local Islamic finance ecosystem. Through various events such as workshops, dialogue sessions, community roundtables, and live webinars, we aim to bring value to our local Muslim community through promoting Islamic finance in Singapore and facilitating knowledge sharing between students, scholars, and finance professionals. So sit back, relax, and join us as we embark on this journey of discovery into the world of Islamic finance. Thank you for tuning in, and let's get started.
Wow, thank you Nurul for that very well introduction for the first episode of our podcast. Right, for today, we are going to explore the topic of investing. And today, for this first episode, we are delighted to have Mr. Sani Hamid with us in our studio. Mr. Sani is currently serving as the Director of Economy and Markets at Financial Alliance, where he also leads the Islamic Wealth Advisory Department. With over 30 years of experience in the financial markets, Mr. Sani has worked for a renowned companies such as SMP and BNP Paribas. Mr. Sani also has a wealth of academic qualifications, including Bachelor of Business from NTU, a Master's degree in Applied Economics from NUS, and is also a certified financial planner. We extend a warm welcome to Mr. Sani Hamid and thank him for joining us in the IFSG studio today. Today, we are excited to hear his insights and learn from his expertise. Welcome to the studio, Mr. Sani.
Thank you for having me. It's a privilege. It's an honor to be able to be here to share with you whatever experience I have, whatever knowledge I have.
Thank you so much. Okay, before we get to our topic of investing, Mr. Sani, I would like to ask a personal question. Is that okay?
That's fine.
Okay, so before we get into it, right, I just want to, we are all very curious about from where we are reading about your introduction. You were a Director of Economy and Markets at Financial Alliance. What do you do at your daily job?
Currently in my company.
Yes, what do you do?
Right. I serve coffee and on a serious note, as you mentioned, my title at the current company I'm with, Financial Alliance, is I am the Director for Markets and Economy. So basically, I am what you call an asset allocator. We are a financial advisory firm. We have about 400 over consultants going around doing financial planning for individuals, both high net worth, and also individuals which are considered to be what we call mass affluent and such. So these individuals, when they actually meet up with clients, they will do things like insurance, financial planning, insurance, investment, estate planning and such. So on the investment side, of course, they need guidance on what we call what to invest in, portfolios, stocks, bonds, what to put inside, how much to put, where to put it, and so that's partly my job, basically, as an asset allocator, to guide our consultants as to where to allocate their clients' money. The other role I play is the head of Islamic advisory, FIWA, basically. And in that role, we have a department which kind of is in parallel with the conventional financial planning, serving the Muslim community in the same areas of investment, insurance, Islamic planning, and a few other areas which you may not find in the conventional side, zakat, wakaf, and so on.
That's interesting. Thank you so much for explaining or elaborating on what you do lah on a daily
So,
basis.
Mrs. Sani, on the second part, the one that you say you are advising on the Islamic products, for example, right? Is there like, how many issues are there in a month, for example, that you really need to diagnose and see how is it?
So we are quite peculiar in the sense that we are a corporate entity, meaning to say we're not a group of Islamic advisors. Where I come from, meaning to say I come from the corporate side. So if you go into Financial Alliance website, you'll find that Islamic services is one of the services provided by the company itself. Okay, so it's recognized as that. So the dedicated resources. I'm the head. I have Ustad Harun who helps me with the so-called department itself. Okay, so we cater to the 400 advisors. So whether they are Muslim advisors or non-Muslim advisors, when they go and see their Muslim clients, okay, they will then have what we call knowledge based on what we have provided. They will then have solutions based on what we provided. So I give you one very good example. Because in Singapore there is no certification to certify financial planners as an Islamic financial planner.
Yes.
In Malaysia you have such
Yes.
certification. So we created our own in-house certification. So before our consultants can go out there to actually call themselves an Islamic financial planner, they'll have to sit through a two-day certification course, take a small exam, and thereafter passing the exam, we would then allow them to go out and call themselves an Islamic financial planner. Yeah, and then they will have to renew this certification every year and so on. So we make sure that our planners, so to say, our consultants, are fully certified based on our standards before we allow them to go out and call themselves an Islamic financial planner.
Interesting.
So okay, a curious question. Does that mean like if an advisor out there says that they're advising on Islamic products, that means they are not really what do you call it?
So Islamic.
Don't have
Is it
that
that?
knowledge base? Or
Well,
qualified? Yeah, qualified to say.
Well, I won't say not qualified. They could be very qualified, but I don't know, and I can't say for other companies whether they have a systematic system to educate their so the level. So the reason why certification is recommended and in Malaysia potentially compulsory is to ensure that the consultants have a certain standard of knowledge on the subject matter. So without this, without having them sit through this, you'll find that there will be a range of knowledge, some without knowledge, some with very good knowledge, and some with iffy knowledge, and so on and so forth. So by doing this, we ensure that basically our consultants have a standard knowledge of Islamic financial planning.
That's interesting. I didn't know that you can have that.
certificate.
So we had to do it because
Yes.
I wanted to ensure that
The quality
Yes.
of the people that
Yes.
are going out and
Yes.
giving advice to your clients is definitely being taken care.
yes,
Yeah.
and
Because,
especially
yeah.
and especially because I'm the bulk or the majority of our consultants are non-Muslims, and they have Muslim clients. Some of them
So
even
they
have
also need to take the
Yes, because they're serving Muslim, they're serving
as
the
long
Muslim
as they are
community.
serving, so they need to.
So we ensure that they have the knowledge because they are serving Muslim clients, so they need to know riba and stuff like that.
That's true.
This is interesting.
That's interesting, yeah. To be honest, I've never come across an advisor, a non-Muslim advisor that understand the.
We have a few who are very good.
Yeah,
I can tell
very
you
interesting,
that.
very interesting. That's so reassuring to hear, say. Very
yeah.
reassuring to hear. Yeah.
Okay. So again, I want to ask a little bit personal. Now we are still at the personal questions, right? So personal question. Okay, Mrs. Sani, for you personally, how do you start your own investment? Like how you start and about like, okay, now I'm going to start. Now I'm ready and have that confidence.
Now or when I was like super young?
Super young. Like when you are still
I say
finding
I'm
your
super
way
old
in
now.
this Islamic Bible. You're still young. You're still young.
Not you there.
Yeah. So what is the spark? What starts you and how you find your way?
I think because when I first started to work, I landed myself a job in a bank which is now defunct, Bank Bumi Putra Malaysia.
Oh.
Way back then,
In Singapore.
in 30 odd years ago, there was a branch here. I happened to land myself in the dealing room. So I actually was in the treasury or dealing room of that bank itself. And that is basically, if you know dealing rooms or treasury departments of banks, that's where the action is, the forex, money markets, things are all taking place there. So that's where really I got to know all about investing and such. And the guys there were also buying shares and such. So me being the rookie there, I'm like, bang anak tumpang lah. Beli apa yeah, that's how I got
the
involved.
environment you
Yeah,
enter.
yes,
It's all
exactly,
about
exactly.
everyone making money.
And losing money also.
Oh yeah, losing money. That's it.
We'll talk about that
Yeah,
later.
yeah.
Yes,
Yes.
of course.
But the excite for someone that is new is, of course,
Yes.
everyone is like growing their money. I also want to find a way,
Correct.
right, to grow
Correct.
money.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay, so when we talk about you, okay, last time when you were younger, you followed the people around you start investing, right? So for people that have yet to start investments, right, they like to do research. So I've come across people yang macam they want to research a lot, but then never invest. And then those people yang want to invest, never research, terus jump in.
Or some like macam for example now we have a lot of groups. Example ni like Hajar make a group, okay, and Hajar say to Iman and to all the other people in the group, right, buy A, buy B, buy C, buy D. Then Iman is like, one, Hajar, I can trust you and I buy this A, B, C, D. So there's like a few lah. The first one that you mentioned, second and third. So the third one macam Mr. Sani sikit masih muda-muda lah kan. Like you go into a room full with people talking about stocks and then suddenly bang.
Yeah. So how important is research on investments or before we start investing?
Correct.
Yeah.
It really depends on what type of investor you are.
Okay.
Because not everybody can do research. Correct?
Yes, understand.
You know, you could be machi-machi, whatever, you don't know a lot about these things itself. So to say that research is absolutely necessary is also not true. That's why we have funds which have fund managers. That's why we have funds which are passive funds, okay, which over a long period of time, or typically speaking, they go up. And we can talk about why do stock markets go up in the long run. Okay, there's an argument for it. So even if you don't know anything about investing, by just knowing simple principles like diversification, make sure you don't put all your eggs in one basket, make sure you have a long time horizon, then typically speaking you ought to be making a certain reasonable amount of returns over that period. By right, not always the case, but the odds are very high that you would end up with a decent return even without knowing anything. Okay. Then there are groups of people who want to try and time the cycles a little bit so that they can generate what we call alpha. Alpha is basically what is above the normal return. So if that first group makes, for example, 6% return over 20 years, which is the reasonable return for a stock market investor who does nothing but just buy and hold. Okay. The other group who studies and researches, they try and create alpha which is above the 6%. I want to make 8% per annum over this period. I want to make 10% per annum over this period. And so people who do research tend to want to outperform the average market returns. So you have those two types. So, but then not everybody knows how to research.
Yeah.
But some people love to research. Yeah, so they'll fall into this group, in my view.
So in your opinion, what would be like a good sweet spot for people to enter?
So the question, I would throw back the question to you, are you the type of person who can do research, who likes research? If you don't like, then you just settle for a group of investments, which is a buy and hold. How I would say is make sure that it's well diversified.
Okay.
Make sure it suits your risk profile. And then probably rebalance it. So there's something called rebalancing. And you probably, and make sure you have about 10, 15, 20 years. Then you probably do pretty okay.
Okay.
So it's very simple rules to follow, which a financial planner will be able to execute for you. Then you'll find. But if you tell me that I like to do research, I say, okay, then this is a different story.
Okay.
Then you should read this book. Then you should probably follow these guys on Twitter. Then you should follow probably stuff like that.
So there's a few resources later Mr. Sani will say to this guy that is really into research.
Yeah,
right?
because they're different with their
maybe.
fundamentals. There's technical analysis. You know, there's economic figures and stuff like that.
So for a beginner, do you think is the first best thing when they have the thought of, okay, let me do my first investment, is to first think about research or find a place where they can trust and then start doing the portfolio and etc. first? So what is the best advice for a very newbie that really don't know what is happening in this Islamic world market or even market in general?
So same thing. I will try and find out whether this person
What
is
type of
what type of person. So if you tell me that you don't like to do stuff, then I say, okay, fine, invest in this portfolio. This portfolio is being managed by a fund manager. All we need to make sure is this portfolio suits your risk profile. You don't have to worry about anything. Basically, you just continue to do what we call regular savings into the portfolio. That we have funds, you put it in, and we will ensure that it's well diversified. We will ensure that it's rebalanced, and therefore, in the long run, by right, inshallah, we will provide you what we call the average return that is typical of this portfolio. If you tell me that I want to learn more, okay, I said, okay, fine. Probably read a book, some books which I find very useful. Okay, if you want to read a book about, I would probably, if let's say my son asks me, my kids ask me, how do I start off? I say, okay, read a book called The Market Wizards. I love The Market Wizards, one of the first books I read. It's a book written when this person interviews all the best traders in all the different markets, futures markets, commodity markets, option markets, forex markets, stock market, whatever. He interviews these traders and he tries to pick their brains to see what makes them the wizards they are. Wizards mean they are very good in what they do. Okay? And then the last chapter, he summarizes all of this. He says, the common denominator across all these guys is number one, they have what we call a risk-reward ratio which they stick to. What does that mean? They will always ask themselves, and this is one common mistake that novice investors do, is novice investors always look at returns. Oh, I think this one can go up 50%. I think this one can go up 20%. But they never ask themselves, how much can I lose? Because every trade is a risk-reward. There's always a reward, but there's always for every reward, there's always a risk. When you just focus on the rewards and you forget the risk, you're asking for trouble.
Yes.
Okay, so you'll find that all this in the book itself, all these wizards will basically say every single one of them has a risk-reward ratio. They will not enter a trade until they understand or they are comfortable that this trade that they're entering has this risk-reward. Meaning to say, if I'm going to go in to buy this particular share, and I think this share can make 50%, what is my losses? Potential losses. If it's 10%, great. Because my risk reward says anything better than 3 to 1, I'm going in. This particular trade has a 5 to 1 risk reward, right? 50% upside, 10% downside. Good, I'll go in. Anything less than 3 to 1, no. And some of these traders, when you read the book, one whole year, they only go in 2 or 3 times. Why? Because their risk reward is so high, 10 to 1 contoh, and they cannot find a single trade which is 10 to 1 except for a few during that year. And they're so disciplined that they only go in 3 times a year, 4 times a year.
So wait. Kalau if it's a newbie that hearing this, right? When you say trader going in, means trader doing trades.
Yeah, buying a share.
So they do 3 buying only in the whole year. So the idea of trader is not like they're doing a lot.
This is what I'm coming to. We, the common retail investor is bangun pagi, tanya broker, today what can I buy? They feel like they need to trade every single day. Even if they don't talk to a broker, they just come home, open up the screen and then do a bit of technical analysis and say, I need to buy something today. That's not the real way of doing. The real guys, like I mentioned in that book itself, they are patient, they are disciplined. They wait for that opportunity where, of course, not all of them have only trade 3 times a day. If you have a 10 to 1 risk reward, basically 3 times a day, 3 times a day. Yeah, those who have very high risk reward, 10 to 1, don't typically find those opportunities. So 3 times a year, but those who have 3 to 1, they'll find more opportunities more often.
As much as the match with the
correct. But they will stick to a system. Yeah. So very true. So one of the biggest mistakes novice investors make is they tend to over trade. The more you trade, the more chances you will have of losing.
Right. Okay, wow. That's like a lot of work,
Yeah.
to enter the market.
But it shows that trading,
It's not
investing is
simple.
about patience, about
It's not
discipline.
simple.
It's more than just the idea of investing
Yes,
and trading.
yes.
to
It's
get
a lot of
reward.
emotional work to go through, see.
Patient,
Ah.
patient
And
discipline.
3 to 1, so for example, if I want to bring the emotions,
Uh-uh.
3 to 1, let's say for example, means 30% upside, 10% downside, for example. Okay? And so when your losses goes down to about 10 and goes to 11, you're by right supposed to
Stop.
Stop.
You
Okay.
cannot.
They call it, your stop losses will be hit, you're supposed to cut loss.
Okay.
Then the emotions come in.
Uh-uh.
Then they like, a novice investor like, tak apalah, tunggulah. Dia akan bounce balik.
Go out again.
These wizards, cut.
Wow.
They don't care. They are so disciplined that they will just cut their position and they say 10% loss, 10% loss. I'll go on to the next trade. You know? And that's again where the emotion, and that's why today, passive investing, quant-driven investing, those are driven by algorithms and such, which are very disciplined. Computer means they are driven by computers. 10 means 10. So they take the human emotions out of the trading, which is needed, because otherwise you will find, whenever we come across a client, we say, hey, you're holding on to this share. Yeah. You hold for 10 years already. Yeah. Why? Well, I started off wanting to buy for 1 week. Then the thing went down, then hang on to it. I've been holding on for the past 10 years.
Oh no.
That is a common characteristics of people who don't fulfill this discipline, or don't have this discipline. A lot of the things that they hold for very long term, it's not that they wanted to hold it for long term. They were caught in it because they were not disciplined enough to get out of.
Right. So if those people who are not disciplined, how do they even start investing?
Which goes back to the first type of investor. If you're not disciplined enough, you let someone else do it for you.
Right. Okay. Whew. Okay.
Wow.
Not
So
easy.
means like there's a lot of, like we have mentioned, the patience, the discipline, and also the idea of this investing, if I can pick up a bit, it's not also about long term. It's not like the longer you keep, the more that you will gain.
Well, in our world, basically, let's put it this way: the longer you hold on to an investment, it is well diversified. Okay, if you do things like rebalancing, the odds, nothing is 100%, but the odds increase very sharply that you will eventually walk away with a profit. Okay, let me ask you one
What
very.
is the odds?
Let me ask you a very simple question. What do you think because Singapore, the stock market is called STI, Singapore, STI, right? Yeah, Straits Times Index. What do you think the STI will be in 1 week's time? Do you know? Higher or lower?
Don't know, see.
Don't know. Say. 1 month?
1 week I cannot predict. 1 month I cannot see things. It's uncertain.
What do you think the STI will be in 10 years' time? Higher or lower?
I think higher.
What do you think it will be in 15 years' time?
What about lower?
Don't know, see.
So if you ask a room of people,
Yeah.
and you push that time frame from 1 week to 1 month to 12 months, initially 1 week everybody say, tak tahu say. And then 1 month, maybe one person will try and put his hand up, but also reluctantly. 1 year, 1 person puts up. 5 years, 10% puts up. 20 years, whole room puts it up. That already tells you that basically mindset people know historically, over time, the stock market tends to go up.
Yeah.
So the big question is, why?
Why?
Then you ask yourself, what is the stock market? The stock market is a compilation of companies. You open up, last time I don't pay papers anymore, I just tend to read through the internet, but if you open a newspaper, they used to have under the business section columns and columns of stocks which were traded on the STI, manufacturing sector, service sector, finance, and so on, different sectors. And what do these sectors represent? These sectors represent companies which are based in Singapore, which basically have listed in Singapore itself. So if I were to make a very general assumption, do these companies represent the Singapore economy by and large? The answer is, yeah. They are companies, what do you call, M1, Keppel,
Oh, these large companies.
or even the small companies, sometimes these companies, as a whole, by and large, they represent the Singapore economy by and large. Okay? Increasingly, companies, of course, have overseas revenue, but by and large, you can take it in general. They do represent the Singapore economy. Then the next question is, do economies grow over the long run? They do.
Yep.
Ask any econ student, do economies grow over the long run? Yeah, Because you add the 4 factors of production: labor, land, capital, technology, okay, innovation, and they will grow. It's just that at 60 years ago, Singapore had a lot of land, a lot of labor. So it grew basically because there was a lot of addition to these initial 2 factors of production. Now Singapore has run out of land, run out of labor, so to say.
Yeah.
So you put capital, you put technology. It still grows.
Yeah.
But what I'm trying to say is, if economies grow over the long run, stock markets will grow over the long run because they are a representation of the economy. And that is why Warren Buffett knew this way back in 1940 when he first bought his first stock. Because he has always said, when you buy a stock, as long as you buy a very good value, it will go up in the long run. Because economies don't just disappear. He's talking about specifically about the US economy. Factories don't disappear. Human labor don't disappear. Unless you're telling me the country has been nuked or it will go up. Populations increase. So if you understand that, then basically the basic tenet behind long-term investing is the stock market will be higher. The question is, can I pick it at the right price so that I'm not buying it too high? You buy it too high, dia jatuh, 10 years later dia belum sampai balik the original price that you bought. So you don't buy it so high. Number 2, can I pick those stocks which will be still around in 20 years time? And that's where diversification comes in. You diversify, worst a few go down, but the bulk of it is there. You put one bet on one particular thing, it doesn't stay, you're dead. Everything is gone.
Vanish.
Okay. Talking about putting your bet in one company, probably not in the list of questions, but I'm just curious.
She's getting more curious.
Yeah. So okay, when we put our belief in some companies, right? Are we essentially gambling, or is it based on theory? I don't know.
When you buy a stock,
Yeah. Like, let's say if you were to diversify, right? Are we putting bets, or is it something?
Or like mini more like that.
Then it will be like a risk, right?
But then there's the part where we need research lah, Hajar.
Research.
well, if you're investing, there's always risk.
Yes.
If you don't want to take risks, so always remember the concept. Certain levels of risk will bring with it certain levels of return. High risk, high return; low risk, low return. If you are looking to invest in the stock market, which provides you on average 6 to 8% per annum over the long run, sometimes even up to 10% depending on which stock markets you invest in, okay, then the risk is, of course, it comes with it. That means it can come down aside. You don't want to take that risk, put your money in the bank. Then you basically have very low returns from your fixed deposits, but basically your risk is also very low. Not to say zero risk, but very low risk.
Right.
So if someone says, I don't want to take risk, then of course, then we will qualify you as a conservative investor. Then you can only invest in certain things like bonds, money market funds, fixed deposits and such. If you tell me, if we do the risk questionnaire, we find that you can take risks, then we will recommend things like equities, things like alternative investments, hedge funds even, and stuff like that.
So that means, okay, one question because a lot of youngsters right now they are very interested in high rewards. For example, crypto, right? So in your opinion, what is your opinion or your understanding of crypto? Like, should we beginners look into it?
Okay.
Because we are like, maybe stock is not too sure. We're not too sure about
Not
stocks.
too sure about
But
stocks,
then you're very sure about crypto.
but crypto,
But it's like everybody talking about
Yeah.
it.
it's the eating right now.
We don't want to be like, like, okay, the new generation is like more to FOMO. We have fear of missing out the new stuff that is out in the market. And then we see people really become wow
But
when they
also
hold
people
crypto.
become woo. So not only up, but down also. You
But
haven't
we're
spoken to
excited.
people. Haven't spoken to people who bought it at the top.
Yeah.
But so before I give you my answer, we are now. Do we make the assumption that we keep the Sharia side aside, Sharia rulings aside, or do we also talk about the Sharia rulings? Because
Let's address one part,
True.
and then the Sharia part later.
So because if it's quote unquote not, then why we talking about Sharia?
Yeah, true.
So
Let's put in the
Okay.
Sharia lah.
Yeah, so let's settle
combine,
this.
yeah.
Let's settle the Sharia part.
Mm.
Okay. So again, there are many views about crypto in terms of Sharia. Okay. Certain countries like Malaysia, for example, scholars there have said that Bitcoin, Ethereum, and a few other currencies are permissible as long as they satisfy a few things. Meaning to say, especially, first of all, they are traded on what we call regulated exchanges.
Okay.
Okay, and it's confined to just a few of these permissible tokens which are on these exchanges. Nothing more than that. Okay, I know certain countries outright ban or say it's haram. Certain scholars from certain regions, and I also know certain regions which basically they say basically it's not permissible at this point in time until you secure or you provide more certainty in terms of the platforms where you can make it available. So the Malaysians were probably in that area a couple of years ago, where they had this notion that potentially it could be permissible. But until we had regulated exchanges where people can safely go to those exchanges and trade it in a safe manner, we're not going to give that go ahead.
Oh.
So you have this kind of three buckets of thought, with regards to crypto when it comes to Sharia.
Interesting.
Okay, crypto. Okay, now crypto. Many people have this wrong notion that cryptocurrencies is basically one lump sum or one pool of very similar. It's just currencies and so on and so forth. You buy and you try and make money and such. Okay. Yeah, I don't know now. It's a moving number. I think it could be in the 10,000s of crypto. Anybody can create a crypto. Tomorrow, if I wanted to create a Sani Hamid cryptocurrency,
Sani Hamid coin.
Sani Hamid coin, a Dogecoin or Cat, ada juga Cat coin. Cat coin. Anybody can create a coin. Anybody. Okay. What gives? So how do you differentiate this whole universe of cryptocurrencies? Okay. I would say basically 2/3 of them probably have no value at all.
That's a lot.
Yeah, but we're talking about a universe of maybe 10, let's say 10,000.
But when you say no value,
I mean, no value is like Sani Hamid creates a coin lah. That's it. You nak beli, you buy lah. You nak speculate, you speculate. There's no value, there's no utility behind it. Okay. This number when I say, I mean, people may come and say it's different. True. I just have this notion is roughly around there. Okay. 1/3 of them may have what we call utilities behind it. What do I mean then by utilities behind it? Let me give you an example to try and understand this. There are projects behind this 1/3 of cryptos. There is a usage behind it.
Okay.
Many usage. I'll give you a very big picture first. The European Investment Bank, DBS Bank in Singapore, have issued bonds. You all know what bonds are, right? Stocks and bonds. Digitized bonds using a blockchain, Ethereum blockchain, for example. So they've used this kind of so-called cryptos in this manner before. I'll give you an example which I think will help you understand when I say there are projects behind the crypto. All of you use Grab.
Yes.
Correct. Or you use Grab. Okay. I'm not trying to promote Grab, but this is an example. Okay. How do you pay for your Grab?
I link it to my card.
You link it to your card. You link it sometimes to your account, maybe your Pay Now, whatever.
Yeah.
Can you buy some Grab tokens?
Can.
And sometimes the Grab tokens are worth it because you put $50, you get $51, $52, something like that. Okay, so there are 3 ways of doing it. What do you use the money for or the tokens for? To pay for your food, to pay for your car, and nowadays many other things also, I think.
They can discount, like
Yeah.
cancel. There's a lot of functions.
So a lot of functions, a lot of utilities
Yes.
behind it, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Who created that? Grab company created that. Grab company created an ecosystem, which is now funded by consumers who either use their cash or Grab token. If tomorrow the Grab company said, no more credit cards, no more pay now and stuff like that, no more transfers. You must buy my token.
Oh.
What do? You
Buy
also
the
use,
token lah.
buy the token lah.
Yeah.
So you're so used to using the services and everything, and it gives you utility, i.e. gives you convenience and such. So okay lah. So I'll just buy the token. Grab says, I'll be issuing only 1 million tokens.
Oh.
They came out.
Yeah.
Okay.
They put limit to it.
Okay. And the tokens will be traded on the exchange. You want to use my service, you just go and buy my token. But the tokens is due to supply and demand.
Yeah.
Prices will go up and down.
Prices change lah.
Prices change. That is the same way a cryptocurrency will act when it's used for a utility. So people who want to benefit from the utility of that project will have to secure the cryptocurrencies to use it.
Right.
So automatically, and I'm not saying that Grab token is a cryptocurrency, but it's
The
akin.
idea.
It's akin to a cryptocurrency. So you can see why prices go up, prices go down. But that is driven by fundamentals from the ecosystem, demand and supply. No one demands this, prices go down. A lot of people demand the services, prices go up. That is okay.
Yeah.
Because there's something, the 2/3 of those which are Shiba Inu or Dogecoin, nothing kat belakang, there's nothing.
There's no activity.
Yeah. Of course now I don't know, maybe there's some things behind it, I stand to be corrected, but the majority of them have nothing behind it.
So if you are going into crypto, make sure there is some utility lah.
There will be, okay, so yes, I would say you must ensure there's some utility behind it. Okay, of course there is the Sharia ruling of in any utility and stuff, you must make sure that the business is halal. You must make sure that the ratios are halal and stuff, or ratios are adhered to and such. Okay, but I also must warn everybody that when you invest in crypto, if you think about it, okay, it is actually funding or it's actually participating in a project. I mentioned about project, at kind of a lot of them very early stage. They haven't really grown into very big projects yet. They're still all quite small projects, and because the crypto industry itself, the what we call the market capitalization, it's a teeny weeny small little portion of the whole investment world. So it's very very small. Yeah? So why I'm saying this, it means it's really as though you are now putting money in a startup company which has a great idea, has a great project, has opportunity to make a lot of money, but also has opportunity to just close down.
There's the risk. Right. Okay.
Yeah, so that is the overall. So it's high risk, high return.
Wow. So, Mr. Sani, when you say in that terms, right? Can we say cryptocurrency, there is a market to it, like we see shares and stocks?
So it's becoming its own asset class.
There's like an ecosystem for that cryptocurrency.
Yeah.
Okay, so if equities, it's the up and down is according to the economy, according to the market, right?
Yeah.
Like we look at STI in general is going up, in general is going up.
Yeah.
But in crypto, can we do that? Can we like see?
Like, does it follow the economy? Is it?
Yeah. What
The
does it
market.
follow?
Okay.
Where, how?
So similar to stocks and shares. What do stocks and shares follow? There is the micro side and there's the macro side. The micro side is what is the company doing? Is it doing well? Is it providing is it generating any profits? And stuff like that. The macro side is how's the economy, is there inflation, is there liquidity, what's the interest rate, and such. Crypto same. So crypto, you have the micro side, which is what I just mentioned, to the utility. If it's doing well, it can generate profit, these crypto projects and such, it will generate profit. So wow, so micro side, okay. But there's also the macro side. Some people, like they call it crypto winter. Why? Because now with the volatility, now with the high interest rates and everything, people are worried about, actually not only crypto, any high risk assets, tech stocks and stuff, they're also down. You put a Nasdaq and a Bitcoin chart together and they move exactly the same. Yeah. So the macro environment also dictates the sentiment, but there's also a micro solution part to it also.
I see. Okay. Wow. Okay. Going back into the topic of investing, right? You mentioned earlier that if you are the type of investor yang macam don't want to do research and all that, right? It's better for you to just invest in something that is already diversified or that has a fund manager, etc. Now, talking about long-term investing, why is it important? Do you feel that young adults nowadays should start investing?
Well, ask anybody who is my age, what do you regret the most in terms of finance? And they say, I should have invested earlier, started earlier.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
But if today worlds, right?
Yeah.
The young generation, we are facing a lot of things. Like for example, the economy is, work-wise, for example, and then housing-wise, and then our salaries and wages are not that parallel to the cost of living.
I just read
Cost of living.
new grads 4,500 when I
But
first
cost
came.
of living is higher than
cost of living.
It's rising higher.
It's rising higher.
When I first came out, I earned 1,003.
Wow.
Something we
now
know,
business
Mr.
degree
Sani.
that I have is about 4,500. When I did a calculation, it's an annualized increase of about 3 to 4%, which means wages have kept up with inflation, because inflation by right is roughly 3 to 4%. So we're roughly at the correct starting salaries for a business graduate today. That's what I'm trying to say. But anyway, I understand what you're saying.
Okay,
Yeah.
overall, in a picture of overall, and then the economy and everything
If you
is
can
rising.
save, if you can save and invest, you should save and invest.
So it's not when you have money, then we invest. When we have how?
So you must create the ability to invest.
Create the ability to
Okay,
invest.
I ask you.
Mm.
Okay.
Create,
When
not
do
how
you?
to create.
Yeah. When do you? Okay. So the big question is when do you start investing? You start investing when you have excess money.
Yeah. Usually that's what
That's common.
we all think about.
Yeah. I would say it's actually common sense. You know, which means that when you have monthly positive balances, then you invest. Because when you earn an income, let's say katakan 4,500, and your expenses for the month is 4,000, you have an excess 500.
Yeah.
Okay, that 500 goes to investment. So those of you who have taken accounts, even if you've never taken accounts before, there are just two sets of accounts which are very important for everybody. Number one is your income and expenditure statement.
Okay.
Everybody knows that. Your income minus expenditure setiap bulan, what's your balance?
That's a balance, yeah.
That's your income and expenditure statement.
Yep.
The second one is your balance sheet. What's a balance sheet? Asset and liabilities. That's it. Okay. So all you have to think is this: if I spend less than I earn 4,005. I spend 4,000. What's my balance?
500.
500. I've got 500 in my hands now.
Yes.
What do I do with it? Now you go to the balance sheet.
Okay.
Do I deploy this on my asset side or do I deploy this on my liability side? When I deploy this on my asset side means I invest. Investment is an asset.
Okay.
But if I have loans, I can deploy this on my liability side. What happens to my liability? Goes down. But you can only do that if you have the $500 in your hands. So once you create a positive balance every month, you have that ability to either increase your assets or decrease your liabilities.
So it's a choice we make lah.
Yeah. So if you don't have that, you're not. Let's say for example, you invest, but every month you have a minus $500 balance.
Means not enough.
You're actually not investing, you know. Because the mere fact that you're having minus 500 okay, means that every month you are creating a new debt. Okay, let me explain this. You earn 4,500. You spend 5,000.
Okay.
Which means
Overspend.
you overspend.
Yeah.
How are you going to pay for this? Because you overspend $500. You go to your balance sheet and you look at your assets and you say, do I have savings enough to pay? Because savings is an asset. And if I needed to pay, I would have to take out $500 from my savings to pay for that overspending. True?
Yes.
Saving goes
Down.
which means asset goes
Down.
If I don't have enough savings, I must look over to my liability side. Which means what?
Everything
That's
goes up.
increase.
Increase.
Which means I can't pay. Never mind, leave it on my credit card bill. Leave it on my utilities bill. Leave it on my Singtel bill or M1 bill. Then on my liability side, utang to Singtel
Nice.
goes up by 500. Utang to credit card goes up by 500. Okay? So if you are investing while having a minus 500, you are actually using money which actually you don't have. Because you're actually not creating surplus to invest. You are, somehow or another you're investing with somehow borrowed money. You get what I mean? Because it's negative and you're investing $1,000 every month, $1,000 every month, which means you are actually creating more and more debts while investing. Kalau tidak, duit itu datang dari mana? You must have a positive balance in order to invest. Once you have a negative balance and you invest, means where do you get the money from? It has to come from somewhere. That means you are actually
Borrowing.
kind of indirectly investing and then cannot pay money for other stuff.
Yeah.
Then creating your credit card debt of minus 500. So indirectly your investment had created a minus 500 on your credit card. You know? Slightly complicated, but
Yeah.
that's how it works.
But it's like showing that, okay, right now you are just living in berhutang while trying to create for a better future. But it doesn't work like that lah,
It doesn't
kan?
work like that. You
Yeah.
need to make it clean. Make sure you have a positive balance, then you invest.
Okay.
The problem is not everybody even knows. Okay, I just asked. I got 4 people in this room today. How many of you keep track of your salaries? How many of you know how much money comes in every month at what date?
I know.
Yeah. Everybody's like 30 end of the month, pukul 12,
Mari kita
duit
buka.
masuk. But how many of you track your expenses to the same degree that you track your salary? How many of you? Anybody knows? If I ask you today, what's your expenses? 3,222.22. Yeah? Do you? No. No one knows. So if you know your salary, your income, you don't know your expenses, how do you know are you positive or negative every month? You can't, because you need those two numbers to know whether you're positive or negative. Bukan COVID, positive or negative every month. Don't know.
Yeah.
Positive or negative? Don't know. Positive or negative? Don't know. No one knows. Because you need those two numbers. So you could be, and again, I hope not, but you could be every month generating minus 500 without knowing. You could be generating minus 1,000 without knowing. You could be positive without knowing. Okay? Can I get a sense? Yes, I can ask you a few questions and I can get a sense. Tell me, do you feel that your savings are going down every month? Do you feel that your debts are going up every month? If you tell me, yeah, I think I'm in that situation, then you are negative. I kind of know that you're in negative
Roughly,
territory.
yeah.
Because once you're negative, it creates these two things. Negative, I have to draw down on my savings. I have to increase my debt. But if you tell me, no, Sani, every month I think my savings is going up. In fact, I think my debts are going down. Then I think I suspect you're positive. Because with a positive in your hand, you can pay down your debts and you can start saving.
That's interesting.
So Mr. Sani, when you say saving, asset, what if we have a mindset, we love to see cash in our bank. So we want to save. We are scared to bring this money out for some investment.
It's still an asset. Savings is still an asset.
But is it advisable?
So the big question now is, so let's say you have a lot of assets now, okay, and maybe your whole big chunk of it is in saving accounts or saving which doesn't give you a lot of returns and such. Okay?
Maybe
or
it's
used
just
to, but now it's actually a lot better now. Savings can give you 4% if I'm not wrong. Used to be only 1-2%. So we will, as financial advisors, for example, we will then do a risk profile with you. We try and find out what type of investor you are. If you're really conservative, tak boleh ambil risiko and stuff, then we say, now we understand why you're putting so much money in saving, because you don't want to take risks. That's your character. Is it wrong? No. It's not wrong. But we will try and find out maybe there are some weakness in it. Contohnya, a year or two ago when savings were only about 1% or even less, sometimes Muslim clients who had a huge amount of money in their even the Islamic savings account, we said, but you must be mindful. You still need to pay zakat. And when you pay zakat, it becomes negative because your savings only giving you 1%, but your zakat is 2.5%. Maybe you want to just try to put a little bit into what we call sukuks and such, because these tend to generate a little bit more. Okay, don't put everything, just a small portion, so that net when you add your savings and a bit of sukuk, you are able to at the very least pay for your zakat. So so we do talking to a financial planner gives you this kind of different ways, ideas and stuff like that.
Okay, I have one more question. When you say Sani, sikit-sikit kan, sikit-sikit means we don't need the another part where you say nak save. When we want to save, it's okay if we put sikit-sikit at suku, we put sikit-sikit. It means right, we don't need a chunk of money before we start. We like, for example, like this example, 4,500 salary and then 4,000. Okay, maybe this person 4,200 spend. Maybe
Saves
left of 300. So this 300, is it like enough? Or like I need to wait till I get 1,000, then I...
Okay. Some unit trusts allows you to invest with $100.
Tapi 100 people will say you won't see anything happen.
But you only have 300.
It's confusing. 100 tapi nak besar.
Right. But you have to start somewhere. You only have 300. I'm just telling you 100 is the minimum for some. Some will require you to have a minimum 1,000 first. First time you invest 1,000, then after that you can put 100. But the idea is always to start with what you have.
Start what you have.
I've read a lot of articles of people who retire at 40 and such. And when you ask and you look at what they say, they basically started very early. They really try and save a lot. Wah, gaji 2,000, they save 1,000, contohnya, for example. Okay, not everybody can do that. Everybody has their own circumstances. Sometimes when, like for example, when I graduated, I had to support my mother, my brother, so couldn't save. But some people who have the opportunity to do that, or to do so, should do so. Because you will find that these people who saved at the very beginning a lot, due to the so-called compounding, and compounding here doesn't necessarily have to mean interest rate. It just means that you earn on average 6% per annum from your halal stocks, your halal sukuk and such. You will find that the money has time to grow because you started early. When you start late, it takes a longer time for the money to expand. So if you really want to retire early and so on, starting early is actually with whatever little amount you have. Dapat bonus, save. Janganlah pergi Korea tengok BTS.
Oops. Siapa pergi Korea?
Okay, just talking about like starting early also, right? How do like young adults especially those yang macam ada other financial priorities like paying off student loans or saving for down payments for homes, how do we like macam balance paying for our financial obligations and also to kickstart our investments? Or is it too late for if you're already at that stage? I don't know.
Maybe Mrs. Sani, like from your what you say just now, you have some priorities when you were younger. But I believe you climb up the ladder of investment. Macam you start also kan. So maybe how can you relate Hajar's question and your experience?
So there are a few ways to look at it. The financial planning way is basically if you have a lump sum of money in your hand, let's say you manage to save 300, okay, then it's a question of how much is my loan growing by? Oh, my loan is 4% per annum. Okay, if I think I have an investment that can make 6% per annum, then I ought to be investing. Because I make 6%, I take 4% to pay off the loan,
then I make 2%.
And I make 2%. You know, that's the common way of looking at it. Okay, there are other ways to look at it also. Okay, and of course, the Islamic way is sometimes to say that I don't want to have hutang. I would rather get rid of my hutang first, and that is really something which we also recommend, for Muslims to try and reduce as much as possible your hutang. Okay? and become debt free, for example. Because, a lot of people today, unfortunately, we live in a world where debt is considered to be part and parcel of
life.
Of life.
Yes.
It's there should be this course where how to detoxify from debt. If you've ever lived a debt-free life, if you ever come across someone who's lived a debt-free life or was in debt and got out of debt, you will know that it's a totally different life. I'll give you one good example. Homes, for example. Typically, if you buy a home which is $200,000, okay, and you service a loan which is a 30-year loan and such, by the end of it you would have paid at least double the home price. Okay, which means that basically $200,000 which could have gone to investment for you to retire better or for you to have a better life has gone just to pay for the loans or something. Okay? I know it's not easy because no one has 200,000 at the very beginning. Okay? But the effort should come in. Okay, instead of maxing out my CPF to get the house, maybe I should control that a bit. My loan payment is $700 a month, contohnya. Maybe I should pay 1,000 because that helps me to be disciplined to make it shorter, the loan period. I paid off faster. Otherwise, if I don't do that, I'm just going to spend the 300 on don't know what. So yes, so effort should go in because I lost my train on why was the question asked in the first place. So at the end of the day, having a debt-free life is really something which people should aim for. I think that's key.
So we're talking about prioritize.
Yes,
prioritize. Yeah.
So some people can't because they have commitments and such.
Yes.
Okay, so unfortunately, you just have to handle it my way. Last time, because I had commitments, I couldn't save a lot. So instead, what I did was I worked very hard, and I switched companies in order to get higher salaries. So every time I switch, I got
tips.
30%, stuff like that.
You will grow.
Yeah, because logically speaking, you don't move until you have bare minimum 30% stuff like that. So that was my way of getting a return. So that's an investment. So I invested in myself. So I attended courses. I made sure I read a lot of books, so that I could, become good at what I did, and therefore I was worth something, which other people paid me for it when I switched companies. So I just got better salary because of that. So that's another type of investment, I guess you could call it.
Yes, it's true. Like to improve the whole financial of ours first is to improve ourselves.
Yes.
Invest in ourselves, like skills, like knowledge, reading of book and etc.
And only then we can have the capability to also invest.
But nowadays people do a lot of things very innovative. Your generation, not TikTok, but
TikTok can make money though.
That's right. TikTok, YouTuber,
content creation.
Monetize. There are even people who provide their skills and knowledge on the internet. I give you an example. I use Fiverr. Why?
To create logos, right?
No, I'm a user. I'm not a creator.
Oh.
I've got like a presentation which I can do the content, but just I'm so terrible at trying to make it look nice.
So you
So
sell
I go to
it.
Fiverr. I find someone who has usual stuff, expertise, and then they have good reviews and such. And this guy's in like Pakistan, stuff like that.
Yes.
Or the one I chose, sometimes I depends. I will pay a little bit more. Sometimes I use people in Italy and stuff, and they come back with me in a couple of days with extremely nice presentation, which I could have never done. And it's not too bad, not too expensive, a couple $100 maybe. But it helps me save time, looks professional. I can present it to investors. So the guy there is monetizing his skills. So today we live in a world where you can actually monetize your skills. Not like 30 years ago when I had to work hard. I'm the only thing I cannot monetize. Very difficult back then to monetize your skills.
True. Wow. So that means today is actually much more easier to make money actually.
Correct.
Right?
Despite the circumstances, beside people saying like we are in inflation punya zaman, you know, actually there is a lot of way out for the young generation, especially with technology.
Correct.
Yeah.
It's a different way of outlooks
All this while I feel like, yeah, we are in inflation. Yeah, my
Susah,
salary is
hidup
going
susah.
up. Yeah, hidup susah. Macam mana kita nak invest ni?
That's true sih. It's actually, if we want to, if there's a will, there's a way lah. Kan? Yeah, very interesting
Put extra effort, put extra time, and then you will get. But Mrs. Sani, just a bit
Kan?
because you say invest in yourself, right? And then invest money and etc. When we talk about growing money, is investing the only way?
Yeah. I mean, if
Like,
I
is there
understand.
other alternatives? Like, is there another way that we can grow our money?
So like I said, basically, when you have that two accounts I told you about,
Liabilities and assets.
which is your balance sheet and your income expenditure. Okay. So your asset side is where typically people grow their money. I've saved enough money, I'm trying to make it grow faster, therefore I invest. Correct? So you invest by growing the asset side. That's what the typical individual will always think. The other ways of growing your money is I reduce my liabilities, growing my money. If you know, so people must start thinking also that, for example, if I have less liabilities, I'm actually not paying interest on the liability. Actually, that's growing my money. You know,
True.
that's actually
You're
making
saving
money.
your money also actually.
Yeah. You know, so don't think that shrinking your liabilities, paying off debt is I should be growing my money by investing.
The mindset.
You know? So if I pay off my credit card debt, which is 24% per annum, I've actually saved 24% per annum. It's as though I take the same amount of money which I pay my credit card. It's as though I go and invest. It grows by 24. It's the same.
Right.
It's the same concept. It's just that I use the money to pay it. If I don't use the money to pay the credit card, I will use the money to invest. Grows 24, take the money, pay this one. Kosong juga. If I pay directly, kosong juga. So paying it off is actually like an investment which is growing by 24%. I've just avoided being deducted by 24% by paying off interest. So it's like a positive 24%.
It's still a growth lah.
You should look at it as a growth. So, and the other part is, which I mentioned to you, you go all the way back to your other way of growing your money is your income. How do I grow my income? Because it feeds, the positive balance will feed back into your assets. And also your
true
balance sheet. Yeah.
Now right, I see investments right, not just like a small portion of my finances, but a huge umbrella. It's just about knowing where the money goes, like whether you're reducing your liabilities or increasing your savings, etc.
Correct.
That's amazing actually. Okay, before we wrap up, right, Mr. Sani, do you have any like last words or any advice for our listeners
when it comes to investing?
When it comes to investing, start early. Okay, I think youngsters who come to me, let's put it that way. Okay, people who just graduate, they come to me and they say, "Cik Sani, I want to invest. You know, I've seen your seminars, I've heard you on radio, TV, whatever." My first question to them is, have you actually done two other things? One, have you actually covered yourself in insurance? And they look at me quite strange. They say, I come to you asking you about investment, then you talk to me about insurance. I said, look, you've just come out from university, or you just come out from poly. Your parents have brought you up all this while. They paid for your education and they brought you up all this while. Okay? Tomorrow you walk across the road, you get hit by a car. You are in a vegetative state. Or even maybe you're lucky you stay in hospital for a period of time. Okay? The bill comes at 200,000. Your worst case, you're in a vegetative state, you need to be taken care of for the next 10, 20 years. Who pays for it? I said, when you've come out and you start earning your own income, you are an adult, you are responsible now for your own finances. Make sure your parents don't have to bear that burden if something happens to you. Because you don't know, Allah is the planner's best of planners. He may decide something and it happens, and if you have not done so, burden falls on your parents. Kesian diorang. Tak ada bawa brought you up all the way until now, and you've been earning for the past 6 months, 1 year, happy. Now they have to go and take care of you for the next couple of years or 10 years or whatever. So it's your responsibility to ensure that. Some people tell me, I belum kahwin, so therefore I don't need to do this. I don't have beneficiaries, I don't have tanggungan. And stuff. Your parents, look after them by doing this. The second one is do a will. You say, I'm so young, I don't have assets, why do I need to do a will?
Wasiat apa?
I don't do CPF pun belum ada lagi. Stuff like that. Well, never mind do a will. Because one important part in the will, which I always tell people, is your allocation to wakaf, for example. Okay? Of course, you can do cash wakaf. You can go to MUIS and do what we call wakaf ilmu. And nowadays, there's something called wakaf masyarakat and such. You can do that. Okay? But let's say most of us don't really let's put another word, bother about it. So to play safe, create a will, put it in your will. Okay? Because when you die, whatever things that you have, very little, sometimes a little bit of CPF, sometimes maybe you bought a little bit of insurance and stuff. Okay, Muslims are allowed to will away up to 1/3 of their assets to people who are not part of the faraid beneficiaries. So you don't have to do 30%, you may do 10. But myself, I've done 10. So if I die, 10% of my assets will go to wakaf and wakaf ilmu. In Singapore, it will be wakaf ilmu, and now it will be wakaf masyarakat. So you probably ask me, why is it so important? Okay. I've mentioned this before many times, and I like to keep on mentioning it. Okay. You know the hadith Rasulullah SAW, when you die, there are only 3 things which will continue to give you good deeds when you are in your alam barzakh, which are number 1, amal jariah, number 2, anak yang soleh, and number 3, knowledge which you have taught people. And I keep telling people, the knowledge I teach a lot of people a lot of things, seminar stuff. But I don't know, when you walk out that door, maybe semua lupa. I cannot guarantee that you know. In my talks, you will like angguk kepala, yes. Lepas tu keluar, nothing sticks. Yeah. Anak, I have 2 sons. I said my 2 sons, I pray every day that they'll become anak yang soleh and stuff. But can I guarantee that? I said I can't. Nowadays, ask them to sleep at 10 o'clock, so they don't want to sleep. Apa lagi nak, I cannot control already. So, but amal jariah, you can control because you are the one doing it. So why? Because when you die, when I die, I don't know what is my good deeds, whether it's exceeded my bad deeds or my bad deeds exceed my good deeds. No one knows. You may have done something without your knowledge that your bad deeds exceed your good deeds, and you die. And so your balance sheet going into that grave is negative. And when it's negative and you're in your grave, how can you change it to positive? Only one way. Amal jariah. I mentioned the kids and I mentioned the knowledge. Yes, those are the 2 other ways. I'm just saying, yes.
Yes.
So when you are lying there in your grave and you all of a sudden see these drops of white droplets, amazing droplets coming in, which is your pahala, you're going to ask yourself, where did this come from? And then you realize, it was from my wakaf. And so when you're arisen on the day of judgment, all of a sudden you find, I entered with a negative balance, I came out with a positive balance. Alhamdulillah, I did that wakaf. That helped me. Otherwise, there is no other way except for Allah forgiving you for some reason. But otherwise, this is the only way we have control over determining that we have a positive balance when we are arisen on the day of judgment. So that's the importance. So that is an investment.
Ooh.
But that is an investment which transcends into the hereafter. And that is why Muslims, if you have time a bit, Muslims must always realize that bila kita tanya, dunia ni kekal tak? No, everybody say dunia ni sementara, akhirat yang kekal.
Yes.
So everything we do must always be mindful that this world is only temporary, the hereafter is permanent. So you make investments in this world, yes, because you need to live in this world, you need to survive, you have responsibilities and such. But you also need to make investments for the hereafter. And Wakaf is the investment for the hereafter. So never neglect that, because that could be the thing that saves you at the end of the day.
Wow, thank you so much for that advice.
So
Really advice bernas tu.
invest di dunia dan invest juga di
Akhirat.
akhirat.
Betul.
InsyaAllah.
Right.
So itu sebabnya nama kita this segment pun Know Rizq, Know Reward.
Yeah, correct.
Rezeki tu kita kena ingat boleh membawa kita ada pahala juga lah.
Mhm.
Will save us in our akhirat time. Where there's no other amalan that will
Exactly.
help us at that moment. Yes. Thank you so much, Mr. Sani.
thanks for having me and thanks for giving me the
different
opportunity.
perspective
Yes.
to see investment.
So, Iman,
Yes,
From-
yes.
all that Mr. Sani have shared, what was the most mind-boggling or something that really sticks to your head?
There's
From all
so
that he shared.
much. There's so much.
Share with us one lah, one. So Mr. Sani knows that whatever he say also tahu.
That's me first.
Okay, for me kan, okay, I'll just share mine first lah. Okay, for me kan, I really like how Mr. Sani macam kasih kita this and how we look at our finances. Not just macam specifically macam expenses berapa, income berapa, but as a whole macam like balance sheet, you know, things that we see like overall, and it's not just something that it's not how people like me would think lah on money, right? We will think like, kena bayar investment, kena bayar insurance. We always think of money as something that always goes out every day, but never about it grows. Or when you see your liabilities, never about it going down. We only see it going up and up and up. And the best thing is that macam in today's time, we have so many avenues to actually increase our income, which is so, it makes me feel so assured lah. Right? Macam, okay, stress pun dah turun.
Bagus, masya-Allah. Terus stres hilang. Kita kena jumpa Mr. Sani banyak-banyak ni, stres hilang.
Yeah, what about you, Iman?
Okay. Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Sani. I think I learned so much from you. But there's a lot of macam fact and myth that you actually answered. Macam from the shares kan. Like we thought that when we do more means you get more, for example. And then we thought that maybe I thought that I need to start really big, then I can start to enter. And then my worries of being, not my worry only lah, maybe the young generation, like can our money really sustain us in this generation where people say economic crisis and then unemployment and all those things, and then all this inflation, these worries, right? And then you end up with something very nice to remind us that this dunya is temporary and we need to also remind ourselves that we need to prepare for both. The balance sheet comes to both.
Correct.
Dunia dan akhirat, balance sheet must be positive.
Correct.
I mean, kalau yang itu adanya assets positif lah. So that's a lot of things to bring back with.
Okay, just to wrap it off for today, thank you so much, Mr. Sani, for coming over to
Thank
share
you
with
for
us
having
all
me.
your expertise, your knowledge. Really eye-opening for all of us here. And thank you to the listeners for listening in for today's episode of Know Rizq, Know Reward, presented by Islamic Finance Singapore, IFSG. We hope that you have enjoyed our discussion on investments and found it informative and thought-provoking, like how we did tonight, right?
Yes.
Okay, if you have any questions or comments on the episode, we encourage you to reach out to us through our website, islamicfinancesg.com, or Instagram at islamicfinance_Singapore. We'd love to hear from you and continue the conversation.
So we will have many more exciting topics and guests lined up for future episodes, and we look forward to sharing them with you. Before we sign off, we'd like to thank our guest speaker, Mr. Sani Hamid from Financial Alliance, FIWA, for sharing his expertise and insight with us today. We appreciate his time and contribution to the show. Once again, thank you for tuning in, and we look forward to having you join us on our next episode. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.